Okay, so this is going to be a little different than what I normally do on this channel. I say as if my channel has any sort of consistency whatsoever. But for the longest time I've been following Path of the Midnight Sun ever since it was just a ROM hack. Which, by the way, if you haven't, you should totally join the Studio Daemon Discord. It has a nice community and is a great way to get updated on the game. Anyways, I've seen the game evolve from a love letter to Fire Emblem to its own complete indie game. I've been a fan all the way through, so of course I would have to jump on the opportunity to play the demo that just released. This will just be sort of first impressions and overall thoughts of the demo. Also, needless to say, but spoilers aplenty. If you want to play the demo, do so now and come back later. The story for the demo revolves around two people for the most part, them being Princess Feratras of Horkade, who is the current vassal for the Demon King, and Sir Ornier, a knight of Pylum who is tasked to stop the Demon King from escaping its host. See, the vassal of the Demon King has a sort of bad life. If the Demon King were to ever escape, it would immediately kill the vassal, and the demo also makes it amply clear that the Demon King, were he to escape, would not exactly leave many people alive in his wake. This sort of thing makes Feratras immediately sympathetic, as you can only imagine what sort of pain she has to go through on a daily basis with being both the vassal and a princess who never gets any time for herself. On Ornier's side, he is currently suffering through amnesia, which is not exactly something that you want with an important mission like this. However, never fear because Shiori is here, a priestess that may be blind but can sense the malice in living beings. Normally I'm not a fan of the blind person who can actually see everything, but the game goes out of its way to show that it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Because while she can sense malice, that's just it, malice. She can't hear anyone if they don't have any sort of malicious intent, and thus cannot see any sort of objects. And based on what you ask, she will explain the true baggage of this sort of power, because she can't stop the voices that come into her head. Nobody ever stops talking, and she can't just block it out. It's something that grounds her and makes her sympathetic as well. Now, veterans might think that Sir Ornier is a completely new character to the story, but he is actually a repurposed Whis from the ROM hack. Anyways, while he's one of the less focused on characters for the demo, he is still pretty likable with the choices that you can make. And while Helios doesn't have anything new going on that wasn't in the ROM hack, it's still nice to see him again. Something I adored when it came to the demo is the emphasis on NPCs, as I think they really do add to the world and the story. On Ornier's side, it helps show us the sort of powers that Shiori has, and emphasizes the whole concept of don't judge a book by its cover. I think it works best with Arlene, who seems like such a hard ass at first, but thanks to Shiori, she just puts the situation into perspective, and you find that she's a lot more considerate than first thought. And on Feratras' side, the emphasis on NPCs really helps the later tragedy of Chapter 2. You get to know faces like William, Lulu, and Marie, who aren't really that important in the grand scheme of things, but it shows the positive relationships that Feratras has. And it makes it sting all the more when Master Alvano controls a knight to try to kill Feratras, by the name of William. Or when Marie, the shy maid that always did her best for Feratras' sake, now pushes her away because she thinks that she killed all those people under the control of the Demon King. Or when Lulu is one of the few moments of grace in the chaotic situation, and that she says she'll always be there for her. In a time of confusion and grief, it's words that Feratras desperately needs, and yet, at the end, cannot be fulfilled, due to her being wanted by her home now. It really stings, but in a good way. Also, I love how much of a prick Livinus is. Can't wait to see what's in store for him later in the story. Now, gameplay is something that I can't go too far into detail because it's still early into the game, and thus isn't an accurate representation of what could be in the final game. But I can still talk about what's here. Battles take place in this Dragon Quest perspective, where it's your usual turn-based RPG. You can see the order of attacks for that turn in advance, and you choose all of your moves for that turn at the beginning of it. It's not a whole lot to go off of, but it also gives me quite a bit of hope thanks to one move in particular. Narigis. It's a spell that raises your own defense for a turn before attacking at the end, and it increases the power of it if you are attacked that turn. This is such an innovative spell, and I can't wait to see what else the game has in store. The game also has a few maps for areas that plays a bit more like Fire Emblem, where you can fight enemies and the like. Every move takes time both in the map and in battle, and at the end of Chapter 2 you do have a time limit to get to the boss, so I can't wait to see how this sort of mechanic works in the full version. Also, I really enjoyed the boss of Chapter 2, and it shows that the game can be quite difficult. It's one of the few RPGs where I got to make use of the guard command, so that's certainly something. Also, I really enjoy the implementation of choice in this game, as it seems a lot more in depth than most games I know. There are two main stats when it comes to interaction, it seems: affection and sanity. While I don't know how they will affect the game as of now, there are quite a bit of choices and choice strings that can impact it positively or negatively. One of my favorites is right after Feratris is done talking to Queen Mooney, and basically stomps out in a fit. Immediately, you can go back to talk to her and Mooney questions why you're doing it, making Feratris lose sanity because, well, duh. Why would she ever walk right back to her after leaving like that? That sort of attention to detail is always appreciated in a game. The music was good, though I don't remember too much of it. It might grow on me more once I've actually played the whole game, and the voice acting is top-notch as well. I especially love Feratris' delivery when it comes to her distress. And those were my basic first impressions of the demo. Overall, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the game goes from here, because while there are some things that are really familiar, there's a lot more new here for me to experience. If Alfred Kamen is hearing this, I love what you have so far, and I can't wait to see more. Also, please play the demo and support the official release when it comes out. This project needs a lot more love.